Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's Women Special session that we are hosting today. Now, if you attend our sessions on regular basis, you must be accustomed of seeing Mr. Shiva Sharan, my versatile colleague, on the screen. So that's a change today. There's a slight change. However, the session is going to be amazing as always. We have with us three speakers from different aspects, catering to different aspects, and they are going to talk about various aspects like finance, growth, and health and wellness for women. So let me introduce you to our speakers. We have with us Gowri Priya Sethuram. Hi and welcome, Gowri.
Yeah, hi.
I'll give a quick introduction. So Gowri Priya Sethuram is the founder of Indian Shades, and she has been practicing Bharatnatyam for last 22 years. Her vision is to help bring better success to organizations by sharing best practices from India's heritage through its art and cultural wisdom. Currently, Indian Shade is pushing the boundaries for applied arts in team building, diversity and inclusion, wellness and learning programs in nearly 40 plus organizations using 15 plus Indian art forms. That's amazing, Gowri. Welcome to today's session. Yes. Moving on to the next speaker, we have Akshat Malhotra. He's the founder of Pennywise and has over 8 years of experience working with MNCs. During his interaction with people, Akshat realized that people struggle with financial literacy, and I second that. Akshat spent over 2 years studying personal finance in detail. That's the genesis of Pennywise, basically. So he wants to help people save, invest from a young age. Wonderful. Happy to have you here, Akshat, today with us. Moving on to our next speaker, we have Soumya Kothari. Soumya is an Australian board-certified dietitian and the founder of Nourished by Soumya. Soumya is a women's health, fertility, and PCOS specialist dietitian, and she strongly believes that women need to eat, train, and live differently to men. Hi, Soumya. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we'll start our session with Gowri. My first question is to you. And because we are talking about growth, breaking the stereotypes and the boundaries and barriers. So I want to understand what inspired you to become an entrepreneur and what are some challenges that you faced along?
Yeah, I think growing up, I did my civil engineering, and also my art practice was going in hand, it was going together, right? And I reached a certain level of proficiency in my art practice as well. And when I graduated as a civil engineer, I loved the subject, but the real world manifestation of civil engineering did not match the textbook representation of it. And that was a very rude shock because it was a world that was very far from who I was. So I was in this world that had color, had music, had dance. And then there was this world that was just gray and at most black and white. And so that really pushed me to say, is this what I want to do? For the next 6 months or for the next 6 years or for the next 40 years of my life. So I could not really visualize myself being happy in that environment where I knew that with a change, I can create an environment that is better suited to my natural inclinations. So that was my biggest motivation to say, I'm going to do something on my own. And also, I know that I was blessed in a way because I did not have the pressure of bringing in a monthly paycheck immediately. So I understood that privilege that not many of us have. Mm-hmm. So, but when somebody is given you the time and the flexibility to rethink your life's path, I took about 5 to 6 months to rethink what I want to do. And then I started my company. So yeah, that's what it was. It was more of me following what I wanted to do, what my natural inclinations were.
And did you face any challenges when you made this transition?
Actually, no, because I had a really supportive ecosystem back at home. and my parents or my family was more than happy to um, come on this. So yes, I've been lucky that way.
Okay, wonderful. I mean, not many of us will have that privilege, because it's a struggle, paycheck to paycheck struggle. But yes, your story is, I mean, amazing. Yes, it is. Great. So moving on to Akshat. Akshat, what are some of the common financial challenges that women face? And what do you think how we can address to those challenges?
Thank you.
Story like, Gowri's story, she didn't had any financial challenges. But if somebody wants to, pursue what they really want to do, and how can they manage their finances in that situation?
Well, thank you so much for this question. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me here. Thank you for the warm introduction. Super excited for this panel discussion. Coming to the question that you asked about some of the common challenges that women face, I think one of the I think I'll try to answer this question in multiple ways. Number one, from an income standpoint, right? I still feel there is a gender pay gap as such in the industry all across, right? It is somehow innate into our the way people think throughout this entire process. Yes, it is becoming better when it comes to MNCs and few of the global companies, because that's the westernized culture that is coming in. But I still think with our traditional companies, the unorganized sector, the gender pay gap is a huge problem. And I think that is something which I would say in my terms is the number one financial problem that women face, with respect to their incomes. And second of all, about their about long leaves of gaps, which somehow women have the the voluntary intrinsic behavior of maybe voluntary coming forward in order to kind of leave their jobs, prioritize family over their personal commitments, their personal growth, and I think we've all seen this happening in homes around us, right? So coming from an income standpoint, I think these are the two major challenges what I personally feel women across our country having. But having said that, I think it's important for us to stand up on our own and kind of fight against these challenges, if I may say so. I think one of the reasons I say so is I've often seen women understanding the need of savings, but when it comes to investments, the risk appetite isn't too much, right? I think in a way, if I may say so, women are emotionally attached to money. They want to save that every tiny bit, and they're very 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 scared of putting their money into the stock market or into somewhere else where they feel the money could be lost or things like that. So I think there has to be a balance. I think all of these problems can only be rectified when women stand up and actually take these into their own hands. They've got to bridge the gap in the gender pay gap. They've got to ask for more salaries. They've got to pay attention to their investments, to their savings. They've got to be an active participant in the household discussions, right? Now, for example, I mean, just sharing, the other day I bought an insurance for myself. It was a term insurance, giving subsequent or effective coverage to my family. And I went to my wife and I told her, I've bought this insurance in case something ever happens to me. This is where it is. And that's it. She shut me up.
I know the answer. I know.
Right. So having said that, I mean, so these are the kind of, I'd say, to bridge these challenges, it's the proactiveness, if I may say so, or the willingness to take charge has to come up from ourselves. And I think, that is the primary reason. I mean, that's the primary way to bridge all of these financial challenges that I said.
Okay, so do you think women should invest, in courses online or otherwise that talk about or teach financial literacy, basically basic concepts?
Absolutely. I mean, and to be honest, why to have a different sort of a action when it comes to financial literacy between the men and the women? I think irrespective of the gender, right? It's very important for each and every one of us to have financial literacy and particularly since we are talking about, the Women's Day. We were talking about the women thought processes here. It becomes an extra, I think there's an extra step that the women need to take in order to kind of take that charge from their brothers, their husbands, their fathers, and kind of tell it to themselves, no, I am good enough to, I'm capable enough to take care of my own finances. I can take my own decisions. Yes, I'd come to you for guidance, but the ultimate decision is going to be mine and not yours, right? That's the charge I think they've got to take it. And yes, courses, online guides, books, there are multiple areas of learnings that they can actually go for.
Yeah, great. So I request all the women participants that are in the session today, please rethink about this and invest in financial literacy. That's important. All right. So moving on to wellness side now, because that's also important aspect of our life. Soumya, my question to you, it is, what is the difference between nutrition in men and women? And why is there that difference?
Agreed. So, firstly, I think that's a lovely question to start off with, and to sort of set the ground. A lot of us, usually when we're eating with our parents, brothers, husbands, grandfathers, we usually cook the same food and we sit on the same table. Sometimes the women end up eating a little less compared to men, but usually it's the same food on the table. The rice probably is lesser on their plate. But what is of utmost concern, or rather something that we should be mindful about, is the basic rules are the same. Choose whole grains over refined products, eat more vegetables, eat more fruits, have more lean protein than protein with fat, things like that. But the actual difference in between nutrition for men and women is that the need for certain nutrients are higher in women. Now, this is usually because of things that we go through on a regular basis. For example, our menstrual cycles. There could also be things that, that women specifically face, like PCOS or endometriosis, and certain life phases as well, like pregnancy, preconception, postpartum, menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause. So just even if we don't look at the requirement for women in general, and we focus on all the life events that happen in a woman's life, the nutrient requirements around those phases is higher. Like around your menstrual cycle, or rather throughout the month for a woman, her iron intake actually matters. 54% of women, if you go out and do a survey right now, would be anemic. So I think the basic fine difference is that when it comes to certain micronutrients, the requirement for women is much, much more higher compared to men because of the life events that they go through. And that's something that pushes me to, encourage women to sort of see a dietitian, see a gynecologist at least once a year, to sort of look at how you are doing nutritionally or even otherwise in terms of your health. So I think that's sort of the fine difference in between men and women, and why we should be eating different to them.
So does that mean that I have to cook separate meal for the male members in my family and female? Because that will increase the workload on them.
Lovely question again. So you don't have to cook different, but certain additions like, a teaspoon of olive oil on top of your vegetables help reduce internal inflammation. A sprinkle of flaxseed powder increases your omega-3s and omega-6s. So you can eat the same. And then again, if a woman's eating healthy, you're sort of encouraging your family to eat healthy as well. So the minute, like Akshat rightly said, women end up putting them in the back seat and putting their family members in the front seat always. But if a woman gets the support from her family members to cook brown rice instead of white rice, eat that for herself and, obviously cook that for her family, instead of her just eating healthy, everyone else is. Again, there could be that debate on I can eat white rice and still be healthy. But the thing with white rice is no one really stops at 1 cup. It ends up becoming 2, sometimes it ends up becoming 3. So my suggestions usually, have white rice twice a week, but try having brown rice, try having rotis more so, you're in control and the food doesn't look as appetizing as it should be with white rice.
Okay, so even if I'm not cooking separately, I can do improvisations.
Yes, small moderation. qualifications. Yeah.
Great. I'll make a note of that. So much. So moving on to Gowri again. Gowri, next question is to you. How can women identify business opportunities and leverage their strength to start a successful business?
Yeah. So I think it comes down to who you surround yourself with. So for example, are you surrounding yourself with people that are saying constantly, why are you doing this? You're going to fail. Are you surrounding yourself with people who shoot down everything that you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you surrounding yourself with people who will listen to you and you'll say, that's nice. How did you get this idea? And that circle will eventually also say, let me introduce you to somebody who will help with this.
Yes.
So having this first circle of supporters who say, yes, this is good. We should go down this path. It might not be the most perfect path ever, but there is a path that is getting created. So the first circle, so that is very important, that you surround yourself with this circle. And it's time to, if we are really looking at growth as a man or as a woman, to question what is the kind of circle that we are hanging out with. And sometimes the strongest no is going to come from your own family members. So for you, that is a very difficult phase wherein you don't have that support to go and find that bigger outer circle.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first instance, why is it that your family is saying no? How can you convert them to become your biggest ally in your business proposition? Can you rope in your sister-in-law as a partner? Can you rope in your mother-in-law as a partner? Can you say, me and my husband are doing this together, so whatever we do, we'll do it together? So that first circle to be converted, and then to surround yourself with people who talk growth, who talk progress, who talk of saying, as Sakshat said, healthy risk-taking. Most of the time, even I have questioned, we are extra cautious because we know somebody in our family has not been careful and we don't want to go down that path.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So, but then you talk to your extended circle who says, no, I have invested, I have gone down this path. You should too. It's just a matter of taking the right steps in the right direction. So that circle of nourishment, touching upon Soumya again, that nourishment is required even for your intellectual capacities, for your business thinking. So I think that circle is very, very important. And just get out of groups that do not contribute to your group, either be it on Facebook or WhatsApp, and use the same time to get into groups that will talk the language that you want them to talk.
So that means that we have, I read somewhere that you end up being like 5 people you spend your day with. So that means we have to surround ourselves with people that talk positive, that don't shoot down the ideas, that encourage us to go further, and maybe connect us to different people that can help us out.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would say it is said you're the average of the 5 people that you spend your time with. So.
Yes. Correct. And there are so many, business women groups also on LinkedIn, on different platforms, that where women can go bond and, maybe start a business together. Yeah. So, all right, ladies, if you're listening right now, so please invest in a good circle, surround yourself with people that are encouraging rather than people that tell you, "Arey nahi ho payega, you cannot do this." All right. Yeah, great. Thank you, Gowri. So moving on to you, Akshat, now. How can women prioritize their financial goals, especially when they have multiple responsibilities and limited resources?
Absolutely, great question once again. Answering it from the emotional angle, as I said in the previous answer, please emotionally detach yourself from your money. Emotionally detach yourself from all the amazing gold sets and the ornaments you've been receiving as gifts. just joking.
That is hard to do. That is hard.
I know. And so I think it's very important for you to write down your financial goals, right? We talk about something called as a goal-based investing when it comes to talking about personal finance and how do you achieve it, and it is. So what goal-based investing says is, let's say we've got to buy a car, right? So there are 2 ways in which you can invest, right? Today, I can say I want to start investing with 5,000, 10,000 rupees a month, for example. Or the other way could be, I say that I need 15 lakh rupees in 5 years to buy a Honda City car for my family, right? And then I go, it's more like a top-down approach where I now start working towards that goal. That, I've got to save this 10,522 rupees, just for an example, to achieve or to buy this Honda City over the next 5, 7, 10 years, whatever the goal period is, right? So I think it's very, very important for women specifically to be a part of this financial goal planning exercise, where they can actually write down each and every where they can give their own thoughts, where they can give their own angle, right? For example, I'll give you a very, very relatable example. I got married last year, and my mom and dad were making this budget of their entire family, all the expenses that are supposed to happen. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I think there were a number of expenses that the way the men think is, okay, we've got to arrange the food, we've got to arrange the drinks, we've got to arrange the dance, we've got to arrange the event. But it's the women who bring in the angle of, the additional things that happen in an Indian wedding, right? You've got to give something to the relatives, you've got to give something to the bride's family, just taking some examples. And these are the kind of expenses that maybe if just the men plan, they wouldn't think on those lines, right? It's important for women to give their understanding, to give their thought process. And that's what makes it a cumulative goal plan, right? Similarly, coming to house, I remember when we were renovating our house, I was like, okay, this is what we need. We just need an almirah, we just need a wardrobe. But it was only then with my mom came and she said, the wardrobe should have 5 different sections where, in one section, the makeup kit can go. In one section, the mirror can come. In one section, something can happen. Our brains wouldn't process that. So the point being, when you're writing down goals in life for which you need money, which you need to fulfill, it goes hand in hand. You've got to sit with your spouse, with your counterpart, to bring in your flavor, to understand what you need, what you expect out of those financial goals, those priorities, and then work towards it, right? So yeah, I mean, goal-based planning, a top-down approach, very, very important. Very important to budget yourselves. Don't think of yourself as, you are an additional or your income is an add-on to the family. Make your income count, right? Even if it's not at par to the other counterparts. And I think this is still stereotype because I've now seen homes where the women counterpart earns more than the men, right? But even then they feel as if their income doesn't add on. It does. It definitely does, right? So give yourself that confidence that your income makes a difference, and then together budget it, together define how much you've got to spend, how much you've got to invest, how much you've got to keep for your emergencies, for your savings, and then plan your goals accordingly. Yeah.
All right. Yes. So the takeaway will be for the women that do not think that whatever you are bringing home and that doesn't count. Do not seek validations outside. People should come to you and tell you that you are doing great. That you are doing great. So have a financial goal, plan it better, and then maybe, sky's the limit. Maybe you can buy your own Honda City or an apartment somewhere. Why not? Right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Soumya, next question to you is, how can women maintain a healthy diet despite having busy schedule and multiple responsibilities again?
Lovely. Great question again. But before I get into answering it, I think let me try and understand from all the participants that what are some of the common issues that, women these days, whether it be yourself, whether it be your wife, your mom, your sister, why do you all think that women aren't able to maintain a healthy lifestyle? Or rather, let's just put it this way, that why aren't women able to look after themselves? So feel free to use the chat box and just put in, what you all feel is that barrier. And maybe instead of me providing general, like a general sort of feedback on that, I'll give it to you to the point. So based on whatever you guys feel.
All right, people, let us know in the chat box.
They're too busy taking care of others.
That's right. So that's my situation also. I'm too busy taking care of others that I think, okay, let it be. I'm so tired by the end of the day. Lack of live for yourself, love for yourself. So self-love, that's a challenge. Negligence of self, yes. Mostly hormonal issues, mood swings, do affect day-to-day motivation. I agree. Running out of time can't cover up 12 hours of time. Wonderful. Taking care of baby and the work is overwhelming at times. Yes.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot on the plate for women to handle, and that takes a toll on their own health, basically.
Lovely, lovely. Junk food craving. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I can't maintain a healthy life, especially around periods, because a lot of women end up having cravings around their because of PMS. So yeah, definitely junk food craving. Taking
More concerned for kids, taking more responsibility for family, more concerned for family. I think that's the main takeaway here. Yes.
Absolutely. So whatever I'm looking at over there, it's predominantly women putting other people in front of them. And while they're looking after their family, their kids, their husband, etc., 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 by the time they get to themselves, they're completely exhausted and they're like, whatever is available, I'm just going to eat that, whether it even be a bag of chips. So I think the first and the most important step is to, if you're married, speak to your husband, speak to your mother-in-law. I think gone are the days, not saying completely, but there are a lot of families that are getting a little progressive where they're thinking about the woman now and they're understanding that a woman has a 9 to 5 job as well. And her job is not just to look after the house. So they get a cook, they get someone to clean, all of that. So probably have a conversation with your mother-in-law, your husband, and split responsibilities. Do how much you can without burning yourself out. Still having some time for yourself. But then, the nature of women is to look after people. So if you tell her to completely stop caring, she's not going to do that. She'll do it for one day. And then after that, she's like, nah, leave it. I'm just going to go look after people and not myself. So it's better if you split responsibilities, speak to your husband, speak to your partner, speak to your parents, have that open conversation with them and just split responsibilities at home. So you can still go and be the boss lady at work and come back and still be the boss lady at home. And I think that is the most important point. So once you have that sorted, then it comes down to, again, breaking down what are the minor issues women face. So someone had put comment over there saying that, not enough time to cook, not enough time to put in to cook for myself out of whatever 12 hours and stuff. So the most important point is meal prepping. I know that's not the way a lot of us Indians think, because we're like, no, we can't have fridge ka khana. We have to have fresh food, this, that, all of that. I understand that, but in order to ensure that you are eating healthy and not ordering from Swiggy and Zomato, is making sure you're cooking something, whether it be chopping up vegetables in advance, maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday, and freezing them, or putting them in the fridge in airtight containers ready for you to cook, or preparing a salad as simple as cucumber, tomato, and onions, mixing all of that up in one huge box and dumping it in the fridge. So meal prepping is what I've realized that a lot of people find that to be easy to sort of start looking after themselves. And I think that's the first step. You don't have to cook on Sunday for the entire week, but you can increase the quantity of dinner you're cooking for probably next day lunch. So, it's not a rush next day in the morning, or you increase the quantity of dinner you're cooking for probably next day dinner in the night, things like that, like small changes in terms of meal prep. And then the next thing is, if you don't have time to cook for yourself, just get a cook. That's, I think, the most easiest solution to sort of start cooking healthy. I know there'll be this hesitation of, oh, but she's going to use a lot of oil cooking. Okay, so then call her on a Saturday and teach her how much of oil you want her putting into the food. I mean, there are solutions around that, but the easiest thing to do is just get a cook, teach her what your likes, your dislikes are, how people at home like the food, how you would like the food. And it's not going to be very different to what people at home would want to eat. There'll just be minor changes again. So that's one of the thing. And the other point I think is sort of related to the second point, that if you don't have time, or if you're too tired to cook food the next day for lunch, or if you have to get up half an hour early in the morning to cook food for lunch, just make extra dinner and take that for lunch. So that way you're sorted for lunch. The fifth and the most important point that I feel a lot of women find it difficult doing is asking for help when they need it. Like, you might do all of the above, but you still might find yourself drowning at a certain point. You might probably eat healthy at home, but then after going to office, Zomato and Swiggy food. So if you feel that there are times where you feel like you're failing at looking after yourself, ask for it. Speak to your partner, speak to your parents, or just come see me and I'll help you. But speak to someone, go see a dietitian, go see a doctor, try getting all the help that you can, but just don't hesitate asking for that help. So I think these are sort of the main points that I would like to highlight. But again, it's sort of a very general overview. If someone else has any other problems, then those would be, again, getting into specifics. But if you start by just having that open conversation with your husband, your family, I think 50% of the battle's won there.
Yeah, and I think, cooking in advance overnight food is also okay rather than going for, street food.
Yes.
And in certain cases, it's even better also. If we talk about rice, if we cook it in batches and keep it in fridge, it is a resistant starch, which is better for digestion. So, I mean, women can actually benefit from that. They can cook in batches and refrigerate it and heat it up. In offices, we have microwaves.
Yeah.
Yes, there are solutions to everything, ladies. And if you find it difficult to cook food, you can make it in batches on a weekend and store it in the fridge and maybe consume it later on. Or you can go for a cook also, like Soumya suggested. That's a great idea. After all, you are earning, so you can spend a little money to make your life easier, more relaxed, right? Great. So moving on to Gowri now.
Just a point on, sorry, Dr. Supriya, I just wanted to add, I always tell this to my mom, the food that she makes or, the food that she cooks always tastes better the other day. I don't know why. So
I feel that too. The same with biryani though. Biryani never tastes good on that day. It tastes better the next day.
Yeah, so
biryani,
everything that
rajma,
has rice in it, it tastes better the next day. So it's, yes, and potatoes also. If you keep them overnight, next day they taste even better. So please explore that option also. Yes. There's nothing like that basa khana, what people usually go for. There's nothing like that.
Next time, if your family says that, no, we don't want fresh food, tell them it's not because of you can't find out time. It's because you want the food to taste better.
I mean, you can give them whole science around it. You can talk about resistant starch and everything.
I'm going to use that technique now. Next time when people tell me about not wanting to eat fridge food.
Yeah, if you need our help, we can help you out with standard messages, what to say. Okay, so Gowri, moving on to you now. What are some common misconceptions about entrepreneurship and how can women overcome them? Especially if we talk about women in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I think there are, what we need to understand, and what I also need to understand at any point in my entrepreneurship journey, is that there are going to be highs and there are going to be lows. I think the trick is to touch the high as soon as possible. I would say there are, okay, let me just backtrack. Let's say you're exploring something and you don't know whether you want to stick with it. We're all in this phase of we want to do something. Even if I'm working, I want to do something else. Maybe I had a hobby back, or I feel passionately about something, and I want to see if that works, if I can contribute to that, and still create a community and make an earning out of it. So we are just putting out our feelers there. We are experimenting with a lot of things. The first thing that I would advise many people is to fail fast.
Yeah, as somebody has written in the chat box also. Fail fast.
Yes.
Job.
Definitely, yes. I would say fail fast. Cross out things that will not work for you.
Okay.
As soon as possible. And after this, reach your high as soon as possible in something that is definitely going to stick. Because as soon as you reach that high, and speaking of entrepreneurship, it is going to be something that is monetary, or it's going to be something that's going to give you citywide or national-wide recognition. What is going to happen at that point is everybody who said no to you is going to suddenly jump to the yes wagon. They're going to say,
there is going to be an adrenaline rush also.
Yes. You take your entire community on this adrenaline rush. If you have kids, they're going to say, Mama took us on this trip because she's doing that, and things like that. And your mother-in-law is going to gush on the phone and say, this is what my daughter-in-law is doing. And it's just general things. So I would say fail fast and immediately or as soon as possible reach that high.
Okay.
And after you reach that high, always know that there is going to be a dip. And the community around you should also anticipate that dip. They need to know, okay, she's feeling low today because something might not have gone as per, her Excel sheet, what she has projected.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at these moments, you've got to have that community once again to say, it's going to get better. What's going to come, it's going to, it goes around and round. So we should not always expect that we have to ride the high. There are going to be lows. And let's say from each low, we keep learning something. Maybe I had a bad March. What is it that I could have had that would make it a great March next year? And also, this one thing that I've learned from my mentor is to find out what made you successful. What is that key that made you successful? Because if you don't know, if you don't know what made you successful, how are you going to repeat it? So always map out what made you successful in the first place. So that is going to be your key, your map to designing more such successful strategies. We never want to be caught blind to say, I don't know what worked, just worked, because it's not going to work again. So I would say these are the two things that will insulate. Number one, going in, and most of the time it is pressure that we put on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
For example, it's even during exams or during some things, I never had parental pressure, or it was always peer pressure. It was always pressure that I invited on myself. And sometimes it's good to take a deep breath and say, even if there are low moments in your entrepreneur journey or in your career, take that low moment. You have extra time to work on newer strategies. So think about it as the universe giving you extra time, mind space to think of strategies for which you wouldn't have the time, perhaps. So yeah, I would say ride the curves. Yes. And ride it.
Instead of having this fear of failing, we'll urge you to fail fast so that you get over with that. It's like ripping off the band-aid. I'm done. Now it's going to be good, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Gowri. I'll come back to you again. So moving on to Akshat, my question to you is, how can women negotiate for better salaries? That I also want to know. And what are some common mistakes they should avoid? So I'm listening all ears now.
I love this question. So I'll tell you, the other day I read this post on LinkedIn where a lady was telling what her friend does in order to get a better salary package. So she said she's created an account on jeevansaathi.com. And what she does is she browses through the profiles of all the male candidates to see how much they're earning, what's their package, and which company are they placed at.
That's a great idea.
So, she utilized a marriage platform, a wedding platform to actually see how much packages are the companies providing there. But it definitely is a valid point. I think which really leads us to understanding it's very important for us to know the compensation that the existing employees are earning. What are the internal increments? What are the industry standards? I think it's very important to understand each of these elements when it comes to your salary negotiation. Another point on a serious note is, I've often seen this. Unfortunately, we are scared, or the fear of rejection doesn't allow us to ask. We don't ask. We simply don't ask for a better increment. I'll tell you this example, and trust me, this happened with very, very close friend of mine. She was at a 12 lakh package in one of the organizations. And then, she was there for about 6-7 years. She had her internal, there was a saturation that she had reached. There was not getting much more increments. And then she was looking for a job outside. And then before her final negotiation round, she called me up and she was like, Akshat, how do I negotiate, right? I mean, what is it that I ask? How do I know how much is the right thing to ask? So I said, first of all, obviously, do your market research, and then, see what's the figure in your mind, right? There should be some figure in your mind. And she was like, 15, 16, 17. I mean, 15, 16 is good, right? 20, 30% is good. And I said, why are you doing this, right? I mean, why don't you ask for 22? What's stopping you from asking for 22? Kya hoga? The person will reject you, right? The person will just say, we can't do this. This is the maximum we can do. 17 is the maximum we can do. 16 is the maximum that we can do. And trust me, she asked for 22 after I prayed like anything in front of her. And she was able to get a package of 20 lakhs. From 12, she jumped to 20, right? It's an 80% increment. Now, what we don't realize is a lot of times the companies, and this goes for a lot of MNCs out there today, they do care about your current salary, but at the same time, they also have a budget for each and every role that they are filling, right? So they have a bandwidth. They have a bandwidth from, let's say, 15 to 20 lakhs, or let's say 18 to 22 lakhs. And let's say if they have to hire 5 people and they've got the other 4 on 18 lakhs, they wouldn't mind paying 22 for the 5th one, right? So I think the first and foremost thing is you've got to ask, you've got to create a number in your mind, and you've got to ask, you've got to not worry about the rejection, or, not think, what if the call doesn't come back? Have confidence in yourself, have faith in yourself, it will come back, right? Secondly, and I read this somewhere, it said, prepare a brag sheet. Prepare a brag sheet for yourself. Call it out. Khushi. What is it that you can add to the, it's like self-praising. It's like it's like talking a lot about yourself, but that's what it is. At the end of the day, what you're doing when you're trying to get a new job is you're trying to sell yourself. At that point of time, you are the product, and what you say becomes the speech of a salesman. So you
branding yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, you prepare your brag sheet, put in all the points that you have, where you're loyal to the company, you don't have a problem working extended hours if required, you've added XYZ growth to the company, quantify it if you can, right? You've added on to the growth metrics in such and such way. These are the revenue metrics. These are, let's say the number of, in a way of defects that you've solved, the developments that you've done, so on and so forth, right? Quantify as much as you can, and then call that all out, right? And practice. Just stand in front of your mirror, think that you're talking to a HR, and then keep saying these things again and again. So you have those top 3, 4, 5 points that you want to reflect in front of the HR, right? So summarizing the long story short, do your research well, know what the salary components are. Yes, just going a step back. Here is a very, very, very important point, and a common mistake I've seen people doing. They go by the CTC, right?
Yeah.
Now, for example, just like I said, it's a 20 lakh package. But did you go through the salary structure? What's the basic component? What's the HRA component? Is it something like, although it's a 20 lakh CTC, however, 15 is fixed and 5 is variable based on your performance, right? And we don't know what's the basis of getting that variable pay. So do that thorough research, look at the market standards, look at what the CTC comprises of, the compensation structure, so on and so forth. And then obviously, prepare your brag sheet and ask whatever figure comes to your mind.
So basically, don't shy away. If you don't understand the salary breakup, go to the HR, tell them to explain what it actually means, what it implies, and don't shy away from asking for a package that you think you deserve.
And try
the employer is going to say, no, I can't give you that much. That's okay. I mean, there's no harm in, exploring that option also. All right.
And Dr. Subri, I'll just add this. I'll just end this answer with another thing that I read was, if you are given a chance, try to set up the final negotiation interview on a Thursday or a Friday.
Okay.
The psychology behind this is that the HR has a weekly target, right? And they want to get done with closing out the interviews and everything by the end of the week, right? So a Monday or a Tuesday could still keep them in the fight that, no, I can negotiate better. I have 3 days, the candidate will come back to me on its own, so on and so forth. But if it's a Thursday or a Friday, they might say, just got to close this. Jo mang raha hai, de do. Let's just go with it. So see if that works. It's a very, very vague thought in a way, if I could say. But if anyone's looking for a job change, try that out and let me know if that worked for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you are having that discussion currently in your organization, tell your HR will talk on Friday. Let's catch up on Friday.
If any HR is attending today's session, I don't think they're going to be happy with you, Akshay.
Then it will be a difficult situation because both are present in the session.
I think this answer was not mine. Okay, this didn't come from me.
Thank you so much, Akshat. I'll keep a note of that. I have bookmarked that mentally. Coming to you, Soumya. So, what are some common nutrition-related problems that women face, and how can they be addressed? There was a question around that also on the same similar lines. So, tell us about the nutrition-related problems and how we can address them.
Yeah. So again, this question can be answered in different ways. One, I think looking at the different life stages that a woman goes through and the increased need during those stages, as well as in general, certain nutrient deficiencies that are common in women compared to men. So if you're going to look at the life cycle of a woman, starting in her adolescent phase, that's the first time she gets her period. So her body is trying to adjust to the increased iron demand. So that's where she ends up getting iron deficit or anemic if her iron intake is not that high. Not just adolescents, but even women in early 20s, mid 30s, 40s, throughout their life cycle, they end up feeling a little tired, lethargic. They don't know why their energy levels are down throughout the day. But then when you get a blood test done, your hemoglobin levels are low. So the simple solution to it is literally eating iron rich foods, or if that's not working, iron supplements, and if that's not working, then iron infusion. So usually women end up thinking the worst case on why they're that tired, why they're that lethargic, but a simple blood test can sort of tell you it could potentially be anemia. So iron deficiency, I think, is something that's really common. And the symptoms of those that I just mentioned. But iron and B12, again, they go hand in hand. So B12 is usually used for making red blood cells. So whenever you are taking an iron supplement, a doctor usually recommends B12 injections or medications. No one recommends B12 food, but everyone first jumps straight up to supplements. But I think B12 and iron are, like, for example, iron is found in animal-based sources and plant-based sources. Now, usually the animal-based sources are easily absorbed into a body compared to the plant-based sources. But that doesn't mean that what should vegetarians have? They can't go have meat. Vegetarians can still have plant-based sources, but the way on how you can improve your absorption of that is by adding a little vitamin C to it. So if you're having, let's say, a little dal or you're having lobia ki sabji or anything that has lentil or protein in it, add a little vitamin C. So maybe a squeeze of lemon onto your salads or onto your dal. So that will help increase or improve its absorption. Now, B12 is usually found only in, animal sources, but there is this, I would say, a secret that not a lot of Indians know yet. There's this ingredient, or rather, I would say, an add-on to your foods. It's called nutritional yeast. It's not something that we use to make bread, but it's just like a topping that you can add to your salads, you can add to your toast, you can add to eggs, anything literally. That has 6 times more B12 than you need in a day. And that's vegetarian. It's a complete vegetarian source, so anyone can have that. So adding some of the nutritional yeast, even a teaspoon a day, can sort of help you tackle the B12 deficiency without relying on medication or tablets. Other than that, there are a lot of other issues. Like, for example, throughout like your early 20s, you might have PCOS, endometriosis. You might try to conceive in your mid 20s, late 20s, postpartum, preconception, like the whole lot. Again, the requirement of certain nutrients are high there, especially iodine. Now, a lot of us avoid iodized salt and we turn towards pink salt. I'm sure, I would say out of 10 people, 9 people who I know have pink salt. But 2 years ago, there was a research done on 100 different samples from all around the world, where they found that pink salt had almost 56 metals present in it, of which 26 were toxic to humans. And now if we're taking away iodized salt from our equation and turning more towards pink salt, where's the iodine coming from? A lot of people say that don't rely on salt for your iodine intake, but I am someone who believes that you still need to have salt, you still need sodium. So why not rely on salt for your iodine intake? Now, the reason why I'm stressing that much on iodine is because women end up having a lot of thyroid issues. Most of this comes from the lack of iodine. So the best thing to do is first throw the pink salt in the bin and get back onto your regular iodized salt to sort of start getting that iodine. So again, just going back through the whole thing, we discussed on iron deficiency, B12 deficiency, and what else did we say? Iodine deficiency. The other important one is calcium. Now, a lot of women in their mid-30s, we usually, that's how it works, we end up reabsorbing iron from our bones, because of the requirement going high. When that happens, your bones end up becoming brittle and you're at risk of osteoporosis. And if you fall, like, you can get fractured easily, things like that. Now, if your calcium in your bloodstream, when you get a blood test done and your blood is on the lower end, it doesn't mean that you're calcium deficit. The only way how you can do that test is by doing like a bone density scan. And usually it's too late by the time you realize you have a calcium deficiency. So usually we tell people to not avoid dairy, keep eating dairy, don't stir away from it. And that's how you sort of maintain your calcium stores. And topping it off, I think vitamin D is the most important nutrient in today's time, given that a lot of us have desk jobs. By the time we go into work and get out of work, the sun's gone. So the most important source of vitamin D is gone. There was a recent study done where the lack of vitamin D was linked to stress, anxiety, and depression, especially in women with PCOS. So the only solution to that is probably just go out in the sun, sit for 15 minutes, absorb all that vitamin D you can, preferably early morning, late evenings, to sort of get that vitamin D into your body. You start feeling more energetic. Half of your fatigue goes away the minute you sit in the sun and come back inside. So I think these are sort of the most important nutrients that a woman needs at every life stage, rather throughout her life cycle. So, but again, your certain nutrient, the requirement increases at every life stage.
All right. So ladies, the main takeaway here is that we understand that, our life is something where hormones are having a crazy party because there are different stages of life which are influenced by hormones. So don't let them make you sick. Go for preventive health checks from time to time. Understand, what is the deficiency. Are you deficient in iron, or your HB is low, or vitamin D is low, so that you can take a proactive action and do the course correction also. Pay attention to that, right?
Agreed.
Okay, so moving on to Gowri now. Next question is, how can women entrepreneurs balance their personal and professional lives, especially when they are running business?
I think it also, like, for example, irrespective of a man or a woman, when we choose to say, I'm going to do something, I'm going to start my own business, the fundamental question is, why are you doing this? Let's say, for example, I want to be a wedding planner, because I'm great at organizing events. What sets you apart from the other 50 wedding planners in your city? So number one, I think most entrepreneurs deal with is very high competition in fields that are very, very close in nature, especially traditional trades. Like, for example, if anybody has an experience in running a traditional trades, like, so for example, plumbing tools or construction tools, you know that the competition there is very high. The competition is very high, and we actually do not need another store in the same area catering to the same needs. So, for example, let's take a step back and stop doing business the way our fathers or our uncles or our brothers have done it. It might have worked for them, but in 2023, it certainly does not, because the market is already saturated.
Yeah.
So when you get into a market that is already saturated, right, and where you do not have a differentiating factor, it's going to put additional stress on you to reach your success point. There are things that you cannot control. So as an entrepreneur, design your business venture in the way that most things are within your control. Most things you can take it back into control. You can differentiate yourself from the market immediately. As soon as somebody looks at you, they know that you're different from the other person that they visited half an hour ago. So what it does, it eases a lot of stress on yourself. So what happens, you do not have to really, the differentiator factor might take time to brainstorm, ponder on, and put it into paper and put it into action. But what this is going to save you is months and years of unnecessary stress and competition that you'll go out and face and fight every day. And how it connects to today's question is that unnecessary fighting is going to drain all your personal time. It's going to drain your personal time. You're going to be, because you're always worried about what is that person quoting for the same product. You're not worried about how is this person not finding value in my product. You're always worried about prices. So now we have the flexibility. In 1980s, you did not have the flexibility to design a whole new product and send it out to market. But today, the world is flat and the world is a small box. So take your time to, even before you start, and I did say fail fast, but when you start testing out the waters, test it out with the concept of saying, what else can I bring out to my city? What is the possible solution that I am bringing out through my entrepreneurial journey? Because at the end of the day, after a year or 2 years, you are going to see the kind of changes you are making in your community, in your city, in your circle. So that's going to give you that satisfaction, and it's going to give you the drive to keep continuing to do that. So remove yourself from unnecessary competition that will eat away your time. And that is how you can design, that is by designing your entrepreneurship journey really well since the very beginning. So take some time, really write down ideas that you want to do. There is plenty of courses and just YouTube videos that teach you about how to analyze your market, how to find out whether you're going to be a differentiator in the market, find out a specific need that you can solve it. And even traditional businesses can solve this need. For example, let's say, even if you want to be in the events space, which is a very crowded space, or if you want to be in the jewelry space, which is a very crowded space, find out some differentiator that will immediately differentiate you from your competitors. Perhaps you deal with jewelry only from Africa. Perhaps you deal with weddings that have no wastage, or you say if you have waste food at the end of your weddings, we will take it back from you. Weddings today, as people are very conscious, and they will be willing to pay a price to say, let's not waste any food. So I think it's just a little bit of investment from our side to design our entire entrepreneurship journey in a way that is feasible, that is comfortable for us. Remember, you are starting a company so that you can design your life. Mm-hmm. Right? You're stepping away from somebody else's design and you're starting your own design. So spend some time in saying, what do I want my everyday to be? If I start this venture, will I get time to take care of myself first? Find time to take care of my family? What are the expectations that I should set with them to say, I'm starting this is going to be my baby, so I need this space. So I think most of these things will get ruled out in the first place because you're not dealing with outside conflicts a lot. So you're going to get back your time. So if you are struggling as an entrepreneur to maintain a lot of balance in your life, mental, spiritual, and physical balance, there is something fundamentally wrong in the way that you are conducting your business. Because your business is supposed to release you and give you all of these things. So it's a fundamental, it's a symptom to say something else is going wrong in the fundamental design. And it's a nice way for us to relook at what I'm doing every day.
So basically, we are supposed to do our groundwork better, have a USP, what sets us apart from others that are doing the similar business. Yes. And then maybe we can avoid such situations, right?
Yeah. Beautiful summary. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Moving on to Akshat now. Next question is, what are some tips for women who are just starting to invest, and how can they build a strong financial foundation?
Sure. So I think first and foremost, right, we effectively, we call this out as an effective budgeting strategy, which is a 3 bank account strategy and a 30-20-50 rule. So what this 30-20-50 rule state is that out of your total earning that you have, 30% of that money should be invested towards your long-term investments, something that you will not touch for the next 15-20 years at minimum, right? It's completely long-term. You're not going to touch your money in a way. Let's say, for example, let's say if you're earning 50,000 rupees a month, treat your income to just be that 35,000, right? 15,000, 30% of the income goes straight away into your long-term investments. 20% goes towards your emergency needs or your immediate savings, right? Any unexpected expense that could come up, any emergency fund that could come up, emergency expense that would come up, all of that can be utilized from this 20% of your salary. And the remaining 50% is where you enjoy. You live like a queen. You do anything and everything that you want to do. You go out with friends, you party, you buy the things that you always wanted to buy. Basically, do anything and everything. That 50% account is going to be your affordability. You're going to treat that money as the money that you can afford to splurge, afford to spend, right? And this 30-20-50 strategy, what we suggested, you club it with the 3 bank account strategy, right? Now, what does that say? You have 3 bank accounts in 3 different banks. We all have a salary account, so we name that the Earn It account, okay? We create a second bank account and we put it as the Invest It account. And we have a third bank account and we put that as a Spend It account. Now, all what you've got to do is once and for all, you've got to go open your net banking, set up an automated feature wherein you know how much you're earning and you know when your salary generally comes, 31st, 1st of every month. You put up an automated feature that on the 1st of every month, 30% of your salary gets directly transferred into your invested account. 50% of your salary directly gets transferred to your Spend It account. The remaining 20% remains in your Earn It account. Right? That's it. So you had a 30-20-50 rule, you club it with a 3 bank account strategy, and in a way, you automated your budgeting for life. Right? You've automated it once and for all. Now, all you've got to do is all your expenses, the credit cards, debit card, whatever you have, you should have it only off your Spend It account and nothing else, right? And similarly,
and EMIs and bills and other expenses, they will go into
all through your Spend It account, right? That's the place where you are spending, or that's your affordability, right? So you've got to manage it from there. And your 30% investment account is for your future, right? So you don't want to touch it at all right now. And your 20% emergency is for your immediate needs, right? Now, having said that, I know for a lot of us, that 30-20-50 by the actual numbers might not be realistically possible, right? There could be additional responsibilities, liabilities that you've got to take care of. So I completely understand that. What I'm trying to say is it's important to have these 3 buckets, right? So maybe you could start with a 10-10-80 rule, right? You've got to define your own rule based on your income levels, based on your expenses, based on your experiences, so on and so forth. But it's very essential to have these 3 different buckets and club them with the 3 bank account strategies so that you can automate it, right? You don't have to do it every month. You don't have to worry about it every month. This mahine, did I spend 80? Did I spend more than 80? So on and so forth. We don't want to put you into that mental stress every time, right? So remember this, the 3 bank account strategy with the 30-20-50 rule, very, very useful, very, very useful. Second point, as I said before, right, remove that emotional detachment, right? Please move away from or move one step ahead of the traditional methods of fixed deposits, investment policies, so on and so forth. Read about something called as an index mutual fund. What an index mutual fund does is it's a mutual fund which gives you an exposure to the top 30, top 50 companies of India. Yeah. What you've got to do is, if with the underlying assumption that if we all feel that India as a country is going to grow over the next few years, it's going to become a economic superpower, a financial superpower, then it's an underlying assumption, obviously, that the top 30, top 50 companies have to perform well, right? Infosys, TCS, Reliance, L&T,
Adani.
All of them. I don't want to comment, but
Okay.
but basically all of these companies have to perform well, right? So the assumption is if these companies perform well, this will generate more employment, it will generate more taxes, it will generate more revenue. So in a way, it will add on to the country's economy. And if for India to perform well, these companies have to perform well. And if we invest our money into these top 30, 50 companies, then our money will obviously grow, right? So these index mutual funds are in a way the easiest and a passive way for you to invest your hard-earned money, which you are emotional about. And in a way, if I could say so, if you give it a 7 to 10-year time period, it honestly is a safe option, right? We've hardly, based on the historical data, we've not seen anyone saving, investing their money in an index fund over a 10-year period, getting negative returns, right? It's actually given returns 10 and above, in the range of 10 to 12%. So yeah, I mean, that's something which I'd say, please research about, please learn about, and definitely try, right? Just start with maybe 500 rupees. Once you gain that understanding, once you gain that confidence, maybe increase your investment amount slightly, but just get started with a 500, 1,000 rupee SIP every month.
So to summarize it, summarize what you just said is to have that basic financial hygiene. We need to maintain that basic financial hygiene. And for that, we have to maintain those 3 buckets. It's not important that we save large amount, 20,000, 30,000. Start with 500,000, whatever you can afford, but build that hygiene of saving. Next, read about which countries are growing, which companies are growing in the country.
Okay.
And read about them, invest in them for a long term, like you suggested, for 10 years.
And as I said, so when it comes to index funds, you don't even have to worry about reading about direct companies. So this index mutual fund is a fund that would take money from you. So it's a mutual fund run by any of the companies, right? Let's say, for example, just randomly taking an example, SDFC Index Mutual Fund.
Yeah.
Now it's SDFC employees' responsibility to take the money from all of us in the form of SIPs and invest it into the top 30, 50 companies. So it's we've given the research work to the SDFC employees, and because of, we're kind of paying a fee to them in the form of a mutual fund expense, right? So yeah, I mean, so you don't have to do the research. You've got to just study about index funds and start a systematic investment plan and SIP into a index mutual fund.
All right, great, noted. Thank you, Akshat. Thank you for that. Soumya, moving on to you now.
Yeah.
What are some easy, healthy snack options for women on the go? So if I don't have time,
Yeah.
only 10 minutes, I have a bus to catch or my cab is going to come in 10 minutes. What can I do quickly?
Yeah, I think good question again. I think a lot of women usually jump to the assumption of a protein bar when you say a healthy snack. But let me put it out this way, that a protein bar is unnecessary calories. It may have protein, but there are other sources of protein as well that you could get with fewer calories. So protein bars are something that I usually don't recommend to people. But instead of that, fruits, definitely. A lot of people don't have enough fruits throughout the day. Again, I'm not saying make sure that you have fruits for breakfast, lunch, dinner, the time in between throughout the day. No way. Too much of fruits is also too bad, because that in a small quantity does have some amount of sugar as well. So usually I tell people try aiming for 2 fruits in a day. And that's a standard that's set out by a lot of dietetic associations as well, to cap it off at 2. And instead of just having fruits, probably look at salad options too. Now, when I say salads, a lot of people jump to this option of like a spinach and kale and lettuce salad and stuff. It doesn't have to be that complicated. It can just be the same veggies that you put into a bhel, literally the same veggies, just chop in some more cucumber. And you can literally have bhel, but without the save. So add your peanuts to it. Have some of those veggies, a squeeze of lemon, a little salt, mirchi. That's it. Like, that's a super easy snack. The veggies are something that you can chop up and keep in the fridge in an airtight box for about 5 days if you don't add lemon to it. The minute you add lemon to it, it's going to start leaving water. So the best thing to do is add all these veggies, put it in an airtight box and leave it in the fridge. So whenever you do want that snack, you can take 2 tablespoons of the salad, a tablespoon of peanuts, and you have your snack ready. The same thing, instead of adding peanuts, you can add puffed rice to it as well. Some of the other options could be makhana, not a big bowl full of them, but a small cup of them. And murmura again. So a lot of people like having something savory and chatpata in the evenings with the chai. So the best thing to do is probably make your own chidwa or mixture at home using poha, like rice flakes, or murmura. When it comes to poha, using poha to make the chirwa, instead of going for the white poha, try and get the red rice poha. So that's brown in color. Flavor wise, it's exactly identical to white rice. It's not like white rice and brown rice, how different it tastes. But white poha and brown poha don't taste that different. So probably make your own mixtures and chirwas with the poha and murmura and keep that at home. So again, that could be an easy snack. Popcorn is again something that usually people sort of shy away from having. But popcorns that you'll get in packets like the Act 2 and things like that, those are some of the unhealthy options. But if you pop your own popcorn at home in the cooker, adding a little of oil, olive oil if it's refined, you could use that, and maybe a little salt. And if you want to add more flavor to it, you can pop your own popcorn at home and have 2 cups of them. Other options are nuts and seeds. You can have kala chana as well. So kala chana sometimes gives people gastro issues, but if that's something that you're not reacting to, then kala chana is a great option. The same salad that you use for the bhel, you can put that on top of 2 papads and have it like masala papad. That is my favorite. So I usually do that with chai in the evening. And I think that's sort of satisfying as well. You don't feel hungry after that. Boiled eggs, a slice of toast with peanut butter on it. Pretty much these, quite a few, but I think definitely something that a lot of working women can carry with them to work as well.
Yes, and maybe experiment and discover something on the go.
Absolutely.
We will make some combination, and please share it with us also. We also need that. Thank you. Thank you, Soumya, on that. Moving on to Gowri, my last question for this session today to you. How can women entrepreneurs build strong networks and find mentors, which is very important? Mentors who can support them in their journey, entrepreneurial journey.
Right. I think the most powerful statement that I have come across until today is, can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can ever refuse an honest, can you help me? But number one, sometimes our ego comes in the way and says, how can I ask for help? And that's what stops us from asking those questions. What will they think?
Mm-hmm. Fear of rejection, basically.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And also fear, and sometimes an inflated sense of ego as well, depending upon individuals, right? This is much more predominant in people who are slightly older in age. Kids or teenagers or somebody who's in early 20s might not have it. But somebody who has had a well-established job or a career, somebody then trying to make a transition, right? For them, it's going to be very difficult because people have always seen them as solution providers or answer givers. And so for them, it's going to take a little bit of courage to really do this. But I would say try it out. Okay. Either in your career or in your entrepreneur journey, ask people who you know can help you. Can you help me?
Okay.
And the best way to find mentors is when you have your differentiation factor in place.
Okay.
Because when you're reaching out to a mentor, their time, it's also an exchange of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they're going to be investing their mind space. They're going to be investing their time, lots of other things to help you climb up a ladder. So when you say, the way you put forth your request for you to climb up your ladder is going to be very, very powerful when you find your differentiation factor.
Okay.
It's much more better than saying, I want to organize fantastic weddings to a mentor than to say, I want to organize zero waste weddings. Somebody's going to turn around and say, wow, I really wanted to do that since a really long time. Mm-hmm. Something down their path would have struck them and they'll say, what can I do? Right? So the asking and also the differentiation factor really helps in you seeking a mentor. And also the right networks. For example, for some businesses, kitty parties will definitely work.
Yeah.
Suppose yes, it works,
Yeah.
right? Because you're meeting people who will eventually also buy from you and will support your entrepreneur journey.
Mhm.
Then it's a perfect fit. Suppose you're into women related or family related products, it is a great fit. But suppose you're not, you're dealing with maybe decision makers who are sitting in other meeting rooms or other clubs, or you have to take yourself out of these scenarios and insert yourself there. So yeah, I'm not saying don't do this. I'm saying make sure what is going to give you returns and insert yourself in that scenario.
Mhm.
So that will form your network. So your network is actually your net worth. Your social capital along with your financial capital really matters, because nobody in today's era is going to just give us a deal the first time we meet them, right? They're going to ask around, especially if it's a bigger chunk of money involved. They're going to ask around, what is this? Have you worked with her? So have you established your credibility? And that credibility establishment begins when you are in the right circles. Either in your job, if you want to shift your from one business function to another business function, let's say you think you'll do better in marketing than in sales. Maybe you have a creative streak. So how do you make sure that the creative team in your organization recognizes that, right? Are you having lunch with them? Are you telling them that, hey, I just thought this could be better because it would help us sell this product better. So I just thought, I should have a talk with you, maybe sit down. So are you deliberately putting yourself into those circles? So that is a conscious effort that we will have to do, and conscious effort to see. And also, this also happens where you get unsolicited advice.
Yes.
I've gone into meeting rooms where I am telling them this training will really help you, this engagement will really help you. And somebody says, your website design can be better. Right?
Yeah.
It's a little frustrating because websites or any social media platform, right, is a work in progress. It's going to keep changing.
Yeah.
Right? And number one, and you need not be thrown off your game to start saying this person is looking at, so that is unsolicited advice.
Yes.
So, and as soon as, especially women, when you're out in the field, everybody thinks, they can give you advice on how to run things better. So there will come a moment when you can say, yeah, but what I'm doing is working great. I would like to go down this path. Sometimes you'll consciously say, I do not want to undergo any more mentoring sessions. I'm getting too much advice. But that will happen when you find the right mentor. When you say, okay, I found this, I'm following this path. Anything else which will come and try to deviate me from this path is an unsolicited advice. I do not want to follow that. So chart out your journey, chart out what your entrepreneurship should mean to the world, what your company should mean to your community. And then see, who is this person who will help me take this goal in a realistic way, in an organic way, who will not suddenly say, but there is more money in destination weddings. Let's do that. You're really taking away my concept. You're not respecting the idea that which I started. So that is not a great fit. So making sure that, you take, it's not that you don't have to take everybody and anybody's advice. Take that person's advice who you really feel is going along the journey with you as you and your company, not like him or her and her vision of your company.
Exactly.
So that would make a lot of difference.
So basically, don't be a sponge. Don't soak in everything everybody says, because ultimately you are going to leak then. Be selective what you want to, hear everybody out, but focus on what you want to do and take advice from right people only. That's the gist of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Akshat, moving on to you, the last question for this session. How can women ensure that they are financially prepared for any unexpected events, such as a job loss or medical emergencies, or we are seeing a lot of employees are getting, chucked out of organizations for no reason. So how can we ensure that? How can we be financially prepared to deal with any such exigencies?
Very, very, very good question. The easiest answer to this is, or the simplest thing that you could do, or rather, let me take a step back and reword my sentence. There's only one thing that you need to do in order to prepare yourself, which is creating an emergency fund. Now, this is something we all know, we all have heard about, but we've not practically executed or achieved it. What is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is a fund which you can go to in case of an absence of your primary source of income, right? So for example, let's say you're earning 50,000 rupees a month. 50,000 into 6 months is 3 lakh rupees, right? Now, at any point of time, you must have 3 lakh rupees in a separate bank account in your emergency fund, that in case something happens to your primary income for a 6-month period, then all your fixed expenses, all the fees that you've got to pay, the rent that you've got to pay, the groceries that you've got to do, all the fixed expenses can be taken care of by this 6 month of emergency fund. As simple as that, right? Now, what this actually psychologically does, and there are studies that have proven this, is when you have a 6 month of your current income in your bank account, you do not stress out even at the loss of a job, right? Because you have 6 months to take the next step. You don't have to take the next step anxiously over the next 2 days or over the next 1 week. You can sit, you have your expenses sorted for the next 6 months. And all you've got to do is now write down what really happened with this situation. Where do I go next? Do I apply for another job? Do I start a business? Do I do something else? And then take a conscious decision, right? So you're basically buying that 6 month time period, utilizing your emergency funds, right? So as simple as that, build an emergency fund, very important. I'd say if you're single, 6 months is good enough. If you are married, have children, have spouse to be taken care of, basically have some add-on responsibilities, maybe about 9 to 12 months is the window that you should look at, right? So 6 to 12 months, depending on your circumstances, is the basic emergency fund you must have. One more point that I'd like to add here is insurance. Insurance is something that we don't pay too much of attention into. We feel this to be kind of an expense which is not really useful. But honestly, just like we buy a phone to do a phone call, just like we'd recharge our phone every month to be able to make calls, just like we'll pay our Wi-Fi bills to be able to access internet, we've got to pay for insurance in order to buy a protection, right? What we're doing is we're buying a protection when we're buying insurance. We're not investing in it. We're not, we shouldn't be expecting a return out of it. Mm-hmm. But what we need to do is we need to think of it as an expense, but as an expense which can be really, really, really helpful when in need, right? So definitely having a term life insurance, having an health insurance, these are the two important insurances that all of us must have. And I would say, go a step ahead and have an insurance of your own, right? A lot of times what we feel is, okay, my husband has a 2 crore, 3 crore term insurance cover. Do I need another one of my own? Yes, you need, because we don't know about life. Anything can happen anytime. So you've got to be prepared for it. You've got to have a health cover of your own. You've got to have a term insurance of your own. And at the same time, you need to know where are all the investments as well as the insurance policies of your other partner, of your spouse. Please ask them. I know it sometimes feels a little hesitant. We feel a little hesitant in asking these details, but it's very important, because I so wish that, everything happens very, very good with all of us in this group. But we've seen people losing their close ones during the COVID times and then completely going blank. Where do we go next? Where do we get the money from? Where do we, what investments or what savings does my father, does my brother have? I have no clue, right? So please ask these questions. In fact, if there is a possibility, right, put up a Excel tracker, write down about all the investments that are done on your name of your parents, on the name of your husband, on the name of your children. Any of the investments that you've done on your names, add the nominees to each of them, so that at times of distress, the transfer of funds can happen at ease, and at the same time make a note of all these things, right? So these will be my 3 takeaways or 3 key points for you to take care of your emergencies.
So basically plan for the worst, but don't get bogged down by the thought of that worst is going to happen to me.
Correct.
Secure yourself.
Absolutely.
Right?
Very, very well summarized.
Thank you so much, Akshat. That was really helpful. I think everyone should have a collated list of their, savings and other things on an Excel sheet. You can secure it, save it so that in case, God forbid, anything wrong goes or wrong things happen, what is, what you are supposed to do, what are the next action points. So
correct. If anyone needs the format, just hit me up, I'll share it.
thank you. So that will be great. Yes, we can share it with you. Moving on to the last question, Soumya. Can you share some tips on how women can boost their metabolism and increase energy levels?
Absolutely. So I think, like usually the word, a lot of people say boost metabolism. For me, I feel boost has always been used as a marketing or a catchphrase, like boost your immunity, boost your metabolism, things like that. And unfortunately, in today's world, when we think about metabolism, all we think about is how many calories am I burning? When it's not just that, it's a lot more than that. Metabolism is actually the energy that you need, that your body needs to function throughout the day. Like that's the actual definition of metabolism. If you're feeling sluggish, if you're feeling tired, if you have a lot of acne coming up, hair fall, things like that, those could be signs of a slowed metabolism or a delayed metabolism. So there are ways on how you could enhance your metabolism. Not boosted, like, because basically enhancing your metabolism doesn't happen overnight. It takes a little time. It is a gradual process, but once your metabolism is back to functioning normally, you will start benefiting from it. So some of the most important points I think that I would emphasize on is firstly, hydration. So if you're not drinking enough water, there's so much that can go down. You get dehydrated. Weight loss is an issue, constipation. And usually when your body is sort of performing all these activities, the only medium of transferring energy to different muscles or different organs is your blood. So through that. So if you don't have enough water, there's obviously blood thickening that could happen over time. So sort of ensuring that you're drinking enough water. And again, the excretion process. So through your sweat, the toxins come out. Whenever you're sweating, through bodily fluids, things like that. So it's very important to stay hydrated all the time. And usually I recommend people to start their day with water and end their day with water. Because those are the times I think you can meet your daily water intake easily if you sort of have more water in the morning specifically. The next thing would be, I usually ask people to sort of eat every 2-3 hours. Only reason being that women in specific, fasting doesn't really do well for our bodies. It sort of throws our hormones off balance, and starvation especially. Given that women's needs are higher, there's also a requirement, like you can't sit and eat 3 big meals and still go to work and continue working and not feel the strain that the food's putting on you after you eat. So my suggestion is always like eat your main meals, but reduce the quantity a little and have a few snacks in between. So keep eating throughout the day, not overeating, not undereating, but ensure you're eating enough. And I think the other point is also fiber. So fiber usually carries a lot of important nutrients, and it sort of adds bulk to our poop. So fiber also plays an important role of being the food for the helpful bacteria in our gut, or the good bacteria in our gut. So sort of not having fiber. Now, when I say fiber, a lot of people might think, what fiber? Like, where do I get fiber? Is it sold in the market? No, like fiber is found in a lot of fruits, vegetables, and also certain carbohydrates as well. All your fruits, all your vegetables, all seeds and nuts, all of them have some form of fiber or the other, either insoluble or soluble. So having that form of fiber sort of keeps your gut functional and keeps your gut healthy. So ensuring that you have, or you're eating enough fiber. Now, how much is enough? Now, if I give you a number over there, obviously things won't make sense because you won't know how much is found in what. But try aiming for 2 fruits in a day and about 5 different vegetables, or up to 2.5 to 3 cups of vegetables in a day. That will sort of get you enough of the insoluble fiber. And if you're having, a whole grain carb at every meal, that again would get you enough fiber. So just by following these few guidelines, you're getting enough of fiber in. And I think my last point would be is get your yearly checks done, and see a dietitian and doctor every time. So they can tell you if your metabolism is sort of lagging behind, and can help you personalize that approach. Because I can sit here and I can give everyone broader advices, but again, it comes down to what is it that your body needs in specific. So I think it's important to identify that and sort of work on that.
All right. Thank you, Soumya. So to sum it up, don't think about boosting, immunity boosting. I'll think about building it first. So if you build it right, then it's already there. You don't have to boost anything. That's in good shape, right?
Agreed.
Yes. So thank you to all three of you. I totally enjoyed the session. I totally enjoyed the interaction, and I'm sure that our participants also enjoyed the interaction today. If yes, please let us know in the chat box. If you have any questions, we can put you on the panel and you can ask your questions. We hope we have answered all the questions in the chat box. Great session. Thank you. So basically, ladies, and if there are gentlemen also in the session, we'll urge you that you talk to your better halves, talk to your sisters, talk to your friends, tell them to take care of their wellness, their physical health, their mental health. Tell them there is still time if they want to achieve anything, if they want to, be an entrepreneur, or they want to learn anything new. Tell them to invest in financial literacy, because they are earning money. They are going to office every day, working, and they're supposed to learn about how to manage their finances. And ladies, please pay attention. Go for annual health checkups regularly. In case you identify any alarming signs, don't wait. Seek medical attention. If you want us to help you out with the preventive health checks, you can book the consultation on My Swish portal that we have. And if you have any further questions for our speakers, you can let us know. You can get back to us, and we will get back to them, and then we'll get it sorted. Thank you so much. I have important takeaways from today's session. I'm going to make that Excel where I'm going to sort things out. I'm going to have that bucket system also. I'm going to surround myself with positive people so that they push me in the right direction. I'm going to pay attention to my meals. I will not skip it no matter what. If I'm giving it to my children or my husband or my family, I'm going to pack it for myself also. Thank you so much, everyone. Anyone has any questions, please go ahead. We can answer your questions. Thank you so much.
Questions in the chat box prior. I'll probably just read them out.
Good eye-opening session. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. These feedbacks matter to us, because they sort of build a momentum for us to, organize more such sessions for you in coming weeks. Thank you so much.
There's one from
yeah.
Which salt is best? Sea salt, rock salt, pink salt. Sea salt is the best because rock salt and pink salt have some form of impurities. What medical checks must women do annually? Dr. Supri, do you want to take that?
Yes. So you can drop us an email. I'll write down the email address. We can send you the complete list.
And then there's one question on the body has the ability to heal itself. For healing, it requires zero salt. Eating fruits helps to heal it. Are we missing fruits in our diet? It's something we should ask ourselves and include it in our diet on a daily basis. Lots of seasonal fruit and less of cooked meals. I would agree to that on some level, but your body does need salt. It needs salt for performing its day-to-day functions, nerve impulses. Your heart needs salt to contract. Without salt, it's not going to stop functioning, but there will be a strain on your heart considerably. Yes to fruits, but not agreeing completely with the part of less cooked meals. I think there has to be a balance for everything. So ensuring that you're getting everything into your system in specified quantities. I think pretty much that's it, nothing else.
All right, ladies. And like I always talk about this important point. Please support other women that are working with you. Women are supposed to pull women up, not pull them down. So wherever you see an opportunity, you can help your fellow, co-worker or a colleague, go ahead, extend your help. Practice that. That's it. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening ahead. And thank you, Gowri. Thank you, so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.